Well, welcome everybody to the series finale of our Playful Horizons speaker series. We're really grateful that you're joining us, as Kenzie said, on a snowy Monday evening. We are so fortunate to be talking to our last speaker who's going to send us off with a bang. We're going to be talking about speedrunning and glitch and all the exciting media art stuff that Madison does in just a moment. But first of all, we do want to let you know to keep an eye out for updates on the series more broadly as we move into the new year. We have a couple of events down the line that we're looking forward to advertising shortly. And then finally, recordings from the last couple of sessions, as well as this one, will be going up soon, probably in the next 2 weeks or so, to the faculty of our YouTube page. So be sure to check those out. And if you are watching on the University Faculty of Arts YouTube page, thanks for watching. And with that, I'm going to throw things over to Kenzie, who's going to introduce our speaker.
Awesome. Thanks, PB. Okay, so we are thrilled to have as our speaker today Madison Schmalzer, who uses she, they pronouns. Madison is a media scholar, competitive speedrunner, and glitch artist. Madison's scholarship explores transmedia art, emergent play practices, and embodied relationships to technology. Her work combines trans theory, critical media studies, and hardware studies, and her published work can be found in or is forthcoming at the Journal of Cinema and Media Studies, Game Studies, Animation, Camera Obscura, and the Bulletin of Applied Transgender Studies. Madison also runs workshops and streams for several speedrunning collectives. You can find her speedrunning Hades, Inscription, and breaking all manner of media on Twitch as @mads with a Z brutal, or check out her website at madisonschmalzer.com. So welcome, Madison. We're so excited to have you.
Hello. Thank you. Good to see you also virtually. Yeah.
So to start us off, kind of a question that we'd like to ask all of our speakers is, what got you interested in game research? So in your case, you have a really diverse set of media skills. So just tell us a little bit about your academic background and what brought you to where you are now.
Yeah, that is such a hard question to start off with, because the real answer, no, I'm kind of joking, but the real answer is it's like a winding road, right? Like, I think we don't fall into these kinds of things, or at least I didn't, super intentionally. It was a process of finding my way through other academic disciplines to game studies and some kind of constellated things around that. So from an academic perspective, I was in English. English I found to be a little bit limiting in that it was very textual in its orientations broadly, and I was super interested in the thing that I was holding in front of me, how it came to be, how it was produced, and the experience of it. And I then kind of ventured into media studies broadly, which led into games, extremely embodied practice, whether that's tabletop role-playing games, but also video games, right? We kind of take for granted that we sit at screens and we hold controllers and we there's all sorts of these kinds of physical relationships we have with the hardware in front of us. So that's one answer, I suppose. Other answers are, well, I play games and I have for forever. I'm sorry, I have to admit I am a gamer of sorts. So the technologies that started becoming a part of my life and forming my habits and habituations, I find those to be some of the most important, right? When we're playing games over and over again, when we're communicating through them or sharing friendships through them, these have to be some of the most important things that we want to research and study because they're shaping not just culture broadly, but just our day-to-day lives. So that's kind of some of the answers. There's probably other answers of how I got to games, vis-a-vis going through a whole childhood story that I don't think I'll bore you with, of just like what games were important to me and that we all have, right? I think that's important. We all have these like foundational stories of games being important to us, being a thing we spend time with, not just nostalgia, but kind of shaping us in some way. And I think that's really special that we all have that, and like I think it's important to then study it and think about it. And yeah, that's my answer to that. So academically, English and then falling into media studies. Though.
Perfect, thank you. I mean, we've actually had a few ex-English academics talk to us over the course of the semester, so not unique in that regard.
That's really interesting.
We might hound you later about that question about childhood games, but we'll come back to that at a later point. So, next question, Madison. A big component of your work has focused specifically on emergent play communities and speed running in particular. Some of our students here are actually speed and challenge runners themselves. Can you tell us a little bit about how you got into speed running and why you found it important to study speed running as part of your research into games and culture? And also, just for the audience, what's been your favorite game to speed run in the last year or two?
Okay, let's start backwards. That's the thing you just said at the end there. Favorite game to speedrun recently? Hades 2. Y'all, play Hades 2. It's phenomenal. It's a beautiful game that takes everything from the first game and without eclipsing it, turns it into just a completely fresh and exciting and like bigger experience. Play Hades 2. It's awesome. And I actually am very attracted to like roguelite speedrunning. I think it's a completely different orientation than some of the platforming stuff that I do, where everything's very linear. You do the same thing every time, or at least you try to. With roguelites, that's not the case. You have decision trees that you're working through. The run is different every single time, and a part of that is managing risks, and it's much more like mentally active. So I love running Hades 2, and Inscription, all roguelites. So that was the thing I like to run. How do we get into this? I don't think I'm unique at all in this regard in how I got into speedrunning. I think it really started, I guess you are asking me about my past, challenge running, right? So taking a game, adding arbitrary rules to it. Kind of classically, I was playing Final Fantasy V, for example, was one of the first kind of games wherein, okay, I beat this game. I don't have very many games to play and beat. Let's play it again. What's something to do to change it to be a little fresh? Oh, I know. There's only a certain amount of classes or jobs there, is what it's called in that game. I'll only use very specific ones to make it a little more challenging or difficult, or make me have to use different equipment or magic or whatever. And wow, it's a completely different game. Would you look at that? And like, we know this as kind of a cultural phenomenon now, but like 2010 is when the Nuzlocke comics came out, the original Nuzlocke comic, which I'm sure a lot of you are aware of what Nuzlocks are. I'm not sure if everyone knows the origin of Nuzlocks, being a comic strip, Nuzlocke being the Nuzleaf of the protagonist in the game, named after John Locke, the character in Lost. So Nuzlocke became the name of the entire, like, completely outlived the cultural relevance of Lost, the television show.
I'm gonna interrupt you just to
and
say
I
I'm
was
so angry that I've known you for however long, and I'm just learning this right now in this moment. Are you serious? After the character from Lost?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, and actually in that original comic strip, it was stupid. The Nuzlocke died early, and so Nuzlocke, who had the face drawn with the face of John Locke, the character from the television show Lost, would appear in the sky as like this like spirit guide for the character throughout the comic strip. It's still running, like the guy's still making it. I forget his name. Anyways, that became a cultural phenomenon in 2010. Which then, of course, Pokemon. And I guess I should tell you, for those of you who don't know what Nuzlocks are, it's playing the game Pokemon with a set of rules mapped onto it. The most important two being you can only catch the first Pokemon you encounter in any route, and the other one being if a Pokemon faints, Pokemon's PG, friendly way of saying you got knocked out or whatever, it dies. You have to release it and you can no longer use it. So it's got a lot higher stakes to all the kind of battles, and the kind of children's game becomes a little more complicated. So anyways, getting into like those, and around that time also being really invested in Speed Demo's Archives, which was and still is a website that displays kind of the best and most, well, it's just the fastest speedrun in different speed games. Was a long time running kind of the center of speedrunning culture. It'd be a site that I'd frequent. So I was aware of speedrunning be adjacent to this. And then 2011 is when GDQ happened for the first time. Games Done Quick being a very large speedrunning marathon event. And so being in these kind of challenge running spaces, I didn't actually pick up a game and explicitly speedrun until about 2017, which was very much I've been engaged in adjacent practices. Let's just do it. And that let's just do it, I think, is important more broadly, not just speedrunning, like a life lesson kind of thing, because speedrunning is kind of viewed as a highly technical act for only the best, only the most virtuosic players can do this. Look at all these fantastic feats and these huge glitches, and it's amazing and all this stuff. And really what it is you sit at your computer for hours, and you slowly learn the skills over and over again, and you're bad at it. And you continue to be bad at it for a long time until you finish a run. And once you finish a run, you have a time to race against. You don't really care about everyone else, you care about what you did. And it's about incrementally improving yourself. And slowly you realize, wow, those things that were so difficult to me are second nature now. I have these skills. They're easy peasy, and I could keep adding on to that base of knowledge and also teach other people this stuff. And I found that highly rewarding, right? That like giving myself arbitrary benchmarks of improvement and being able to look back and see the successes along with that like long bouts of failure. So if we get into why is it important to study these things, it's that. It's both becomes really important to our lives when we sit with a game, but also are invested in a larger community that is doing the same thing and sharing that information. And you can know this stuff from the outside, but the actual feeling of sitting there with a controller for hours and losing a run over and over again, of being on a promising pace and dropping your goal, like the time, screwing up a trick, whatever the case may be, like that is the important part of speedrunning. It's extremely personal, extremely embodied, but it's also this communal act of everyone doing this and supporting one another. So I think your first part of your question, after I talked through a lot of things, was why is speedrunning important? That community and how the impact it has on actual people's lives. Perhaps it has some impact on game design too. At least that's been changing. Maybe that's a question we can get into at the end. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you. I do think there's something really interesting in that process of like moving from the viewing side of a community of practice into like the active participating side of it, that we'll circle back to a little bit later, I think, in another question. But for the moment, obviously, like a big component of speedrunning involves glitch and glitches, right? Which is something that you've written about extensively. You also describe yourself as a glitch artist. Can you tell us a little bit about what glitch art looks like and how glitch factors into your creative or academic work?
So, first of all, speedrunning. Predicated pretty strongly on glitches, both technological, the clipping through the walls, for example, and warping to the end credits and et cetera, on down the line. But it's also, glitches are cultural too, right? What is a glitch becomes a really hotly contested kind of term. Generally speaking, there's a system and it functions in a way that it's supposed to. Something happens that ruptures that. That's what speedrunning is for games culture more broadly, right? It's taking a game and doing something you're not supposed to do with it, and then exploiting the ways that it was programmed with the assumptions of how it would be engaged with. And for me, this extends out to other cultural systems. This is, there was a gesture in my bio, which, thank you so much. I think PB, you might have doctored the bio a little. You made me sound so good. About trans play and trans theory being a part of what I'm doing. And I link in those kinds of ludic glitches, technological glitches, into other kind of cultural practices that people are doing and how they understand themselves and the act of play that they are engaged with. It's hard to have firm numbers on anything in this regard, but we'll say a large community of trans speedrunners that are out there and kind of see themselves as hacking and glitching all of these kind of cultural, technical, ludic systems, the body, the game, the system of play. So what is a glitch then? That's the theoretical up here. What do we do with that, right? Well, one, we create performances, right? That's what a speedrun is. It's a performance of glitch. It's actualizing this communal knowledge towards a goal and something that we can share with one another. But it's also linked into a long history of just artistic practice, right? I go back, at least in my classes, to like the 1930s and some experimental film. One film that I show a lot of students is Len Lye's Color Box, which is a film that he took the celluloid of it, right? And instead of like filming something, took markers and knives and glue and all sorts of different things and just cut all over this film reel. And when it's played back, there's this kaleidoscope of colors and images set to music. It looks as though lines are dancing across the screen. It looks both haphazard and intentional at one and the same time. And this is the kind of glitch that I'm invested in. How do we take these technological and very material procedures and turn them into art that comments on the medium itself in some capacity? So what is film here, for example? Well, it's the thing that we're holding on to and like remembering that. So I also, fast forwarding 70, 80, 90 years now, whatever it is, to right now, there's been a ton of kind of people working in the same tradition. And for me, one of those is circuit bending, for example, right? So hold on, this is unplanned. Oh, I have it sitting right here though.
There's props. Excellent.
Amazing.
Yeah, props. Okay.
Our production value just skyrocketed.
Right.
Beautiful.
So this is an NES circuit board, right? And you can physically see on there where the certain chips are. I have it attached to something. Yeah, we can just turn my camera down a little bit. And there's many different components on here. For my purposes, let me turn this other way. The most important one is right here, this chip, which is the GPU, the graphical processing unit. So everything that goes onto the screen is run through here. But also there's pins. There's little pins on here. And those are where the data is stored, right? So if we know and we understand how this circuit board works well enough, we can know where every individual piece of information that's written to the screen is stored and written and then translated. So what happens when we take wires and we change that, where we attach pins to other pins? Well, we can reroute information to different places and have a kaleidoscope of images happen on the screen. And it takes the tile sets of the game, like Mario, and turns them into something completely different. Hold on, let me set this down. So it's things like this that require that remembering of the physical and manipulating the actual physical objects that I find extremely important for glitch. It's a reminder that things are never ephemeral, which ties also back into the trans studies and the kind of hyper concern with manipulating and changing bodies. But also all of this history and this tradition, is that still glitch? Right? When I take a maneuver and I can do it explicitly through a circuit bend or through a speed run, has it become a mechanic now? Have I domesticated it? Is there still the surprise that characterizes glitch? Is there still the unexpected interruption? That's a question I've been grappling with for a long time. And what are the political stakes of taking something that was a glitch and turning it into something mundane and kind of normal? I think there's power in that. I mean, that's what a lot of people are trying to do in normalizing identities that kind of exist outside of kind of our cultural norms. But also, if these are the ways that we are kind of resisting hegemonic structures, what are we doing if we like take these things and strip them of that radicality? I don't know. I think it's important to pose the question and think about it, though, because being self-referential about the processes that we're doing and what we're going through, I think, is probably the more important part than coming to a firm conclusion on all glitch and how it works politically or otherwise. So what was the question? Something about glitch? I think I answered some stuff there. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No,
I forgot.
That was perfect. And thank you for breaking up the circuit board. And I actually, I stole one of your circuit bending demos off your YouTube channel and put it in the comments for students so they can see this in action if they want to see what that looks
that's
like.
that's with some of my students in a media class. Yeah.
Fantastic. I've been looking to see if we can't get similar hardware, but every time I tell people I would like an NES so I can disembowel it, they're suddenly very disinterested in selling it to me, which is quite unfortunate. But actually,
you don't tell them. Hold on, I want to interrupt with a short story of, well, you don't tell them what to do with it, especially I went to a garage sale. Oh, nice. That's awesome to hear, first of all, in the chat. We went to a garage sale. This was like a year and a half ago, and they had all sorts of awesome games. And like, I'm not gonna list them all. They had N64, they had Conqueror's Bad Fur Day, they had Legend of Dragoon. They had a lot of games, and I talked to them, and I wanted to buy a bunch of stuff. And I told them, as we're just kind of chatting, that like, yeah, I'm actually a teacher. And the guy goes, "Oh, so all this is going to an educational purpose?" And I'm sitting there like, yeah, for sure, 100%. And he's like, he gave me such a steep discount. It was like $100 for things that was like $1,000 worth of stuff. And like, technically it is, and also I'm taking apart most of this stuff, but I think you wouldn't like that.
We'll just leave
but anyways,
I did something similar with a bunch of Guitar Hero equipment that my students are going to be modding next semester. But yeah, fantastic.
Oh, nice.
So on that note, that's really perfect, because one of the things you've sort of cemented as a key element of your practice is something that you term critical breaking. And so to kind of follow up on those last two questions, your work incorporates speedrunning and glitch not just as objects of study, but as part of the actual academic research process. You reflect on your own making and breaking. So could you tell us a little bit more about what it means to use speedrunning or glitch as academic and creative practice?
Well, yeah, I guess I would loop back to something I already said. I think the research is in the doing, right? This is how we know through how we create. And I think this extends to a lot of different practices. It extends to game design for sure, right? Like, producing a game gives insight into the technologies you're using, into the people that you're creating for, and into yourself. Which I think is one of the most valuable things about, like, what are your desires for this game, and how it should be played, and what your capacities are as a creator and as a scholar. So I would say some of that. And I believe very firmly, and I know PB, you as well, that some of the most important knowledge that we produce about these things just simply comes from the people who are doing the work, right? It's incredibly important to their lives in emergent play communities, wherein it's not just a hobby, it's who they are, right? This is how they understand the world through this. This is how they form social connections. This is how they interact with all technology. And this is why I also link it to trans kind of people and understanding oneself through the technologies that you're engaging with, right? So I suppose I would kind of echo some of the things that I've been saying this whole time. And to that end, then it's how do we produce the conditions through which those kind of practices are legible to the institutions that are, granting us things like tenure and promotions and jobs, when the thing that's legible to most of those institutions is the written word, right? By and large. So it's a slow process of then articulating what is valuable and important about the thing you're doing, and how it does speak to and disseminate out to people, which is another skill that is tough and also requires some slow institutional change on that front as well.
Yeah, fascinating. I think, that it touches on a lot of different areas of the academy of this process of like making legible a practice by doing it. Really interesting. Okay, so we have lots more questions for you, but in the interest of maintaining enough time for students to ask their questions in the AMA, I think we're just gonna kind of jump to one final question for you, which we like to ask all of our speakers in this series. Kind of how do you balance the role as being a media scholar and being a practitioner? In your case, it seems like they're very tightly woven into how you work. So we might offer maybe a modified version of the question. What advice do you have for students who are interested in playing with this idea of critical breaking? Where does one start? What's the first step look like?
The first step is to do the thing. You're not an expert. You're not going to be an expert. Go in with curiosity, and in the spirit of glitch, being surprised, right? So that also means you're working in generally more accessible tools as well, right? This is more the practitioner side of things, but I think about like teaching game design to students that are largely invested in creating large polished games for a AAA company and being within that pipeline. That's great and cool, and do that, but also work in Twine, work in Bitsy, work in these smaller kind of tools so you can experiment and fail, and in this ethos of critical breaking, make something that's messed up and weird, because some of the most interesting things come out of those spaces. But also, don't be afraid. That's why I kind of drew attention to how did I get into speedrunning? Well, I did it. I started playing the game. I watched a speedrun, I emulated the things, and I did it again, and I did it again, and I did it again until it became second nature. Anyone can do this. You just need to find the time to do it and be confident in yourself that you can fail and it'll be okay. So failure is actually at the center of critical breaking. Be comfortable with failure. I have blown out more than one NES circuit board. Rest in pieces, quite literally. And that's cool. I know things now about how the thing works and how it doesn't work, for example. So those are my pieces of advice that are less directly technical and more a mindset kind of thing, and how you want to navigate media scholarship and creation. I don't know if that's super helpful, but that's the advice I give.
No, that's terrific. And I think a really good sentiment for us to land on for the recorded portion of this. So we're now going to do that fun internet thing where we're going to sign off the video, and then we're going to pivot to questions from those of you who are here in the audience. So if you have questions for Dr. Schmalzer, please put them up in the speaker questions channel. And for those of you watching the recording, thank you so much for joining us. Madison, do you have any final words of wisdom for those watching this in semesters present and future? Inspire them in their play and making and thinking about games. This is the grand finale.
That's too much pressure. Too much pressure.
You can
go do the thing. Go fast. No, I don't. I think more accurately, I think my final words are, go go make some beautiful abominations and fail. Something cool will happen on the other side.
Love it. Perfect. Thank you.